Do we?
Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. So this week's parsha is vayishlach.
Should we announce the
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I wanted to dedicate this this class to the memory of my grandmother. And her name is Gidel Bat Shmuel Yaakov Leah. And she's my father's mother. And we had a very, very special relationship. And it's her yortzeit tonight, and I wanted to dedicate the class to her. And I understand it's also Batya's mother's yortzeit. And I'll let Batya introduce her mother.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi. You remember my mom, Eileen, a little
I
bit.
sure do. I sure do.
Yeah.
I do.
So it's been what, 24 years?
Wow.
And my mom's name is Leah Bat Emmanuel. You know, it seems like forever she's gone, and yesterday. It seems like it happened yesterday or forever. That's all.
Same here, you know. It was a very long time. She passed, I believe, in 1978 or 79, but
Wow.
it seems like she's right here, you know?
Okay, so we'll get started. Thank you. Okay, so it's Parshas Vayishlach, and I have a question for you, especially today in the world with all these people that maybe you have come in contact with, or hopefully you haven't come in contact with, that maybe you have, like, who may be anti-Israel or pro-Palestine or something like that, you know, maybe through social media, through your work, or through just anything, you know, how do you deal with them? How do you deal with people who are naysayers or haters, or who are opposed to what you believe in, are opposed to good, or the positive things that you do, or the positive things that you believe in? Anyone have any specific strategy?
Well, first, this is Yvette. First, I establish if they're even listening. If they can listen, then I could talk to them. But if they're just going to be like a hater, I just walk away. You have to establish if they actually can listen and comprehend, if they're willing to listen or absorb or even consider your side, right?
Right.
If they don't consider, then like, okay, see ya, bye.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say?
I think that's the safest way, Yvette.
Okay, what's your style?
There's any anti-Semitism. I mean, I see it online, but not through my circle. Me, I would confront somebody, and ask them more why questions versus telling them and explaining to them because they're not educated. That's my take.
Anybody else? Okay. So we're gonna go into the parsha, okay, and we'll kind of touch on this. So this week's parsha, it's Esav and Yaakov, the two brothers who are very different, and they've been apart for many years, like 20 years, and now they're going to meet. And the question is, what's going to happen? So when they separated, Esav wanted to kill Yaakov, and so Yaakov ran away. Esav even sent his son after him to kill him, and Yaakov instead just paid him off. He gave him everything he owned, and said, okay, just tell, you know, if I'm so poor that I have nothing to my name, I'm dead. So just tell your father that I'm dead. But obviously, I guess Esav really knew he wasn't dead. And here we are 20 years later, and he hears that Esav is coming with 400 men. And Yaakov says, oh boy, I have this big family. How am I going to deal with this? What are we going to do? When they meet, is there going to be a reconciliation or an escalation? So what did Yaakov do? How did he prepare? He kind of like made kind of plan of action in case Esav tries to hurt them or battle with them. He also sent a whole bunch of gifts ahead of time, kind of appease Esav, and let's see what happens. So we're at text 1a. And who wants to be the first reader? Shelley.
I'll read. Jacob lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, Esau was coming. And with him were 400 men. So he divided the children with Leah and with Rachel and with the 2 maidservants. And he placed the maidservants and their children first, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph last. And he went ahead of them and prostrated himself to the ground 7 times until he came close to his brother. And Esau ran toward him and embraced him. And he fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept.
Okay, so what happens? Was it a reconciliation or an escalation of the division? A reconciliation, right?
Reconciliation, yeah.
If he kissed him and hugged him and they wept. And it's interesting is that leading up to it, we say, oh, he was preparing for a war and he had 400 men with them. And then after the hugging and the kissing, Esav wants to travel together with him and go with him together and make peace and everything. So it seems like it's a major shift from like, war to love, you know what I'm saying? So it's very, very interesting over here. What's interesting is we don't really see this. I'm going to see if it's in the Hebrew over here. In the actual text in the Torah, and you'll see the most Humashim, that on the word vayishkehu, okay, it doesn't have it here because it was just printed out, right? This word vayishkehu, oops.
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah, okay, now I just disappeared it. Okay. There's a whole bunch of dots on top of that word. And usually when there's dots on top of a word in the Torah, it means like, hey, something's different over here. There's a hint to something. Usually it means that this word doesn't really mean what it usually means. It's not as intense as the word usually means. Okay. Now Rashi brings down 2 opinions from the Talmud. One is that so yes, it didn't really mean that he kissed him. He didn't kiss him with his whole heart. It was an insincere kiss. He pretended like he was all happy to see him, but really he wasn't. And the other opinion is totally the opposite. And that is that there's actually, it says, Rashi brings down the Talmud and says, from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and we're going to read this right now in 1b, that there's a law, halacha, is that Esav, which means that, Gentiles, Sonel Yaakov, hate the Jewish people. But here, it was unusual. The reason the dots are on top of the word is because he actually, at this moment, Esav actually, turned around and loved him, even though this is not usually the way that Esav naturally is. So let's read text number 1b. Anna, are you okay to read?
Yep.
Okay, great.
And kissed him. In the original Hebrew, there are dots over the word. There is controversy concerning this matter among the Talmudic sages. Some interpret the dots to mean that he did not kiss him wholeheartedly. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai said, it is a well-known tradition that Esav hated Jacob, but his compassion was moved at that time, and he kissed him wholeheartedly.
Okay. So how do we have 2 such different opinions? Okay, I know we say 2 Jews, 3 opinions. But why is Rashi bringing down such different opinions? So if the dots usually minimize the word, then the first opinion would make sense. But why would Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai come and say, hey, it was a wholehearted kiss? And what is going on over here? So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is saying the whole narrative, the whole story over here is minimized. It's not just the word vayashkehu that's minimized, but the whole narrative of who Esav is was minimized in this story. So let's read text number 2. Just have this. Yeah, 1 second. This thing's out of. I should fix this before I post this. Okay, go ahead. Text number 2.
Rabbi Shimon expounds the reason underlying the verse as a basis for drawing halachic conclusions.
Okay, so think about it that way. That hey, he's trying to expound the reason underlying the verse of is that the context here would show that the kiss wasn't really sincere. That would be general, that would usually mean. But because of the dots, it's minimizing this idea that Esav would never be sincere about loving Yaakov. And so here, meaning the kiss was actually sincere. So if we go according to what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, and he says that the general case is that Esav hates Yaakov. How did Esav overcome this? Why was there a change of heart over here? And to answer this, we need to say, okay, well, who is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? Who is he, and why does he come to this conclusion? And Rashi mentions his name. Rashi doesn't always mention the name of the person who gives an opinion, so there must be a reason for that. There must be something that we can learn from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that will help us learn the answer to our question. So I'm going to ask you guys, who is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? What do you know about him? Anybody?
I know the name, but I
Okay.
don't know much about him.
Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the author of the Zohar, aka Kabbalah. He very mystical, very, very wise, very big sage. He was persecuted by the Romans. He's the one that lived in the cave for many years with his son and learned Torah all day. Okay, now how did he end up in the cave? Let's read text number 3a. He lived in the time of the Romans. It was not fun in those days. Okay, so here's some politics of the days back when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive. Okay, back to Shelley, look to you.
Back to me?
Yep.
Okay. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon were sitting, and another person named Yehuda, son of converts, sat beside them. Rabbi Yehuda opened and said, "How pleasant are the actions of this nation, the Romans, as they establish marketplaces, establish bridges, and establish bathhouses." Rabbi Yossi was silent. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai responded and said, "Everything that they establish only for their own purpose. They establish marketplaces to place prostitutes in them, bathhouses to pamper themselves, and bridges to collect taxes from all who pass over them." Yehuda, the son of converts, went and related their statements to his household, and those statements continued to spread until they were heard by the monarchy. They ruled and said, "Yehuda, who elevated the Roman regime, shall be elevated. Yosai, who remained silent, shall be exalted to the city of Sepphoris." What?
Exiled.
Oh, exiled to the city of Sepphoris, and Shimon, who denounced the government, shall be killed.
Okay, so Rabbi Shimon had to run away because they were after him. They wanted to kill him. So let's continue. So he hid. Okay, actually it says it right here. I'm not going to say it. Let's read 3b. Anna, you're after reading?
Yep. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Eliezer went and hid in the study hall. Every day, Rabbi Shimon's wife would bring them bread and a jug of water, and they would eat. When the decree intensified, they went and hid in a cave. A miracle occurred, and a carob tree was created for them, as well as a spring of water. They would remove their clothes and sit covered in sand up to their necks. They would study Torah all day in that manner. At the time of prayer, they would dress, cover themselves, and pray, and they would again remove their clothes afterwards so that they would not become tattered. They sat in the cave for 12 years. Elijah the prophet came and stood at the entrance to the cave and said, "Who will inform Bar Yochai that the emperor died and his decree has been abrogated?"
Okay, so he was a fugitive basically for 13 years or 12 years till the emperor died. Once the emperor died, like all his decrees and his the wanted, his wanted list died with him. So this is a little bit about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And during the time of this cave, he learned so much. He gained great spiritual heights. And of all the craziness is after he was like known as a wanted criminal, quote unquote, for so many years, once he came out of the cave, There was shortly after that, there was a time that I guess the new Roman emperor, whoever he was, made a decree against the Jewish people. And of all people who went to go and try to annul that decree, to plead for the Jewish people, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai went. So you would think here he is, this like known bad guy, at least amongst the Romans, who talks bad about the government, and now he's going to try and defend the Jewish people and save them from this bad decree. So why did they send him to advocate? And what's even crazier is he actually succeeded in abolishing the decree that was against the Jews. 1 second, we just read 3b, right? Okay, yeah, okay, I'm just going backwards by accident. Okay, so let's continue in the Talmud. I guess, yeah, you can read.
On one occasion, did the Gentile, Gentile monarchy issued a decree that the Jewish people may not observe Shabbat, and that they may not circumcise their sons, and that they must engage in intercourse with their wives when they are menstruating. The sages said, "Who will go and nullify these decrees? Let Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai go to Rome, as he accustomed to experiencing miracles. And who shall go with him? Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Yossi." As they were journeying, a demon named Ben Timalian emerged to greet them. He said to them, "Do you wish that I will join you and come with you in order to help nullify this decree?" Rabbi Shimon cried and said, "In any case, let the miracle come and save the Jewish people, even if only through a demon." The demon Ben Timalian went before them and ascended into the emperor's daughter and possessed her. When Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai arrived at the emperor's palace, he said, "Ben Timalian." So
That's okay, no worries.
Timalian emerged. Ben Timalian emerged, and once Rabbi Shimon called to him, Ben Timalian emerged and left. She was cured. When the emperor saw that Rabbi Shimon had cured his daughter, he said to them, "Ask from me any reward that you want to ask." And he took them up to his treasury to take whatever they wanted. They found that letter that was contained the decrees against the Jewish people, and they took it and tore it up.
Okay, there you go. So after he spent time in the cave, I said he became very holy and spiritual, very, very high spiritual level, in a way that he was able to heal people, and also that he was able to neutralize enemies in opposition. Okay, so how was he able to do this? So as I said, it had to do with his high spiritual level he attained, and he was in such a great spiritual state that it just overpowered any opposition he had. Okay, so what happened when he and his son actually left the cave? They were both in a very high spiritual state and like not connected to materialism whatsoever, because I said, as you read before, they spent the time in the cave learning Torah. They would cover themselves in dirt, and then only when they had a daven would they get dressed. They survived on carob and water the whole time they were there. So they were in this great, like spiritual and like otherworldly state. So what happened when they came out of the cave? They both took on very different ways of seeing the world. It was hard for them to get used to the world again. So let's read text number 5. Back to Shelley.
Yeah, this is teeny weeny. I'm going to try and see. That's okay. I'll try. They emerged from the cave and they saw people who were plowing and sowing. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, "These people abandon eternal life of Torah study and engage in temporal life for their own sustenance. Every place that Rabbi Shimon and his son Rabbi Eliezer directed their eyes was immediately burned. A divine voice emerged and said to them, "Did you emerge from the cave in order to destroy my world? Return to your cave." They again went and sat for 12 months. They said, "Judgment of the wicked in Gehenna lasts 12 months. Surely their sin was atoned for." In that time, a divine voice emerged and said to them, "Emerge from your cave." They emerged. Everywhere that Rabbi Eliezer would strike, Rabbi Shimon would heal. Rabbi Shimon said to Rabbi Eliezer, "My son, you and I suffice for the entire world."
Okay, so they had to go back to the cave for a year, figure out how they're going to live in this world. Hashem made the world not just for it to be a spiritual place and to burn everything up, that wasn't spiritual or holy, but to engage the world, engage the materialism in the world, and serve it, serve Hashem with it. So, so everything they saw just seemed so petty. Any materialistic thing just seemed so petty to them. So what happened to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is that he became a healer. He healed the world. He healed people physically and spiritually. And what happened was his son still was like burning people up. He still looked at people and they were burned, but Rabbi Shimon would heal them. He would look at them then and heal them. Oh, 1 second. Did I? Okay, no. Okay, so let's read text number 6. Anna, can you read it? Okay.
Yep. Hizkiah said in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, I can absolve the entire world from judgment for sins committed from the day I was created until now.
Okay, so basically, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, by him now being in the world in such a high spiritual, holy sense, he was able to absolve punishment and heal people. So let's say, God forbid, someone was not well because they have a certain spiritual impediment, they didn't even have to like do any teshuvah. They didn't have to do anything to like fix themselves, rectify themselves. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai would just look at them and they would be healed. So they now were kind of absolved from any maybe rectification that they would need. Rabbi Shimon, he was like so involved with Torah and so, just learning Torah all day and night. And so that's basically all he did. And this gave him this power to do this. Let's read text number 7 to understand that a little bit more, or to see how much he studied. Okay. Your turn.
Okay. I'll take the shorties.
Yeah.
For the likes of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai and his colleagues, Torah is their vocation, and they never interrupt their Torah study.
Okay, so why would Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai heal and take away people's deserving punishments for their sins? Why shouldn't they, just if this is what they're supposed to happen to them, this is what's supposed to happen to them? Why did he heal them? Why did he take it away? So it was part, as like I said before, it's part of this deep spiritual state that he got in the cave. But Hashem wants the world to operate in a certain way. But what he did was he took a negative situation and made it positive. There is a concept in the Torah about tshuva, right? Repenting or returning, turning around your negative impulses, turning around your less desirable actions that you do or want to do, and trying to make it into positive and trying to turn it to do the right thing, to transform it. But Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai he overpowered the people of the situation with such light, with such goodness, that the opposition just automatically always just magnated toward him. They just didn't even want it. Like it was like all of a sudden just everything turned to good. The light was so strong that there was no darkness left. The good was so strong that there was just no evil left. So usually someone would have to go through the process of tshuva, from kind of like convincing your negative traits. No, we got to change this around. We got to do good. We got to, kind of try to control yourself or discipline to become better or to change yourself. But instead, what Rabbi Shimon did was just give it all light. It's so good that everyone just is just like magnated to it, and they didn't have to have this inside transformation process. It just kind of like went automatically from all the good and all the positive and all the light that he brought. And the Rebbe will explain it in text number 8. Back to Shelley.
Rabbi Shimon's approach was such that he didn't need to bring the entire world to teshuvah. Rather, Rabbi Shimon's approach tolerates a world still mired in a situation that warrants judgment due to inappropriate behavior, and yet I can absolve the entire world from judgment for sin. In a way, this is far greater than the affecting change in the world where the lower party is elevated and ceases being low. Namely, the evil is canceled and transformed. Rabbi Shimon goes a step further and says that godliness can reach and impact the lowest of places, even in its lowly state. The evil in its own natural habitat.
And so let's say you have somebody who, let's say, isn't doing what they should doing, isn't following Hashem's ways or whatever it is. So you could sit and say, try to teach them, try to have them change their ways and try to do what you need to do. Or you can just pull them into the Simchas Torah circle, pull them into like some, Hanukkah, celebration, and the warmth and the love and the light that they'll feel there will automatically, no matter what they're doing in their life, no matter where they are, no matter what kind of maybe bad things they've fallen into, will kind of just automatically uplift them, and bring them positivity in their life, and bring them this connection to Hashem that they otherwise wouldn't have. And this is what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did in like a different type of way. So because he was so spiritual, he was so positive, he was such a high and light place, he was able to just subdue the opposition just by his light encompassing the enemy to just join him in. And he was accustomed to miracles. He did miracles. He healed people. And so he was like, it was something that was done above the regular nature, above the regular way that a person would have to change himself. Got it? Okay. So now we're going to go back to Yaakov and Esav. So now we're going to understand how Esav at this moment, why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that, at this moment, Esav actually kissed Yaakov wholeheartedly, made up with him, and actually loved him wholeheartedly for that moment. Because Yaakov was like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He was used to opening the door with miracles. It actually says, I know we all know about Moses splitting the sea, but there's actually a story of Yaakov splitting the Jordan River. Here we go. Rashi brings it down. Okay, text 9, Anna.
For with my staff, the Midrash Agada states he placed his staff into the Jordan and the Jordan split.
Okay, so most people, like, if you're walking somewhere or going somewhere on a hike and you get to some type of little river or stream or something, you have to figure out how you're going to get across it, right? You have those little games. You build a raft, you find a bridge, if worse comes to worse, you swim across it if you can, or whatever it is. But usually most people don't try to just split the water in half and just go through it, right? Besides for a few greats like Moshe, and here we learn about Yaakov, and also later Yoshua, before they're just going to Israel. He also does that. So, you get to water, and, oh no. So Yaakov got to this water, and they had to get across the Jordan. And what did he do? He just put his stick in, and boom, it split. Because Yaakov was also a super positive, super holy, super spiritual person. And when he was overwhelmed, he overwhelmed his opposition with his goodness, with his light. And so when he came into, him and Esav met, Esav only got swallowed up in Yaakov's positivity and Yaakov's light and Yaakov's goodness. And he didn't even have to be transformed. He just started to love him, and he really meant it sincerely at that moment. And that made an exception of the general rule that Esav hates Yaakov. So now I'll read it in the Rebbe's words. Back to 10. Yeah, Anna just read. No, go Shelley, Anna, you. Shelley, Anna.
My turn?
No, it's Baya's turn.
Okay.
Jacob was accustomed to experiencing miracles, So through the ruse that Esau hates Jacob, Jacob was able to influence him so much that his mercy was aroused at the moment, and Esau kissed him wholeheartedly.
There we go. So who else do we have? Who did they have? Who came before them that were two brothers who were so opposing in their ways and in their minds? We learned about a few weeks ago in the parsha.
Abel,
Who?
Cain and Abel.
Try somebody else. That one was very good and one was evil, and one tried to kill the other.
And the
Ishmael.
Ishmael, the Islam guy.
Right. So Yitzchak and Ishmael, right? Ishmael was trying to play and kill Yitzchak, and Ishmael got sent away, and they fought over who's going to be the inheritor of Abraham and all of Abraham's, like the all of Abraham's, the way of life. And at the end, what happened, when we read in that parsha, when Avram died and Avram passes away, the verse mentions Yitzchak's name before Esav, because at that point, by that time, Ishmael conceded to Yitzchak. He actually did teshuva. He actually did repent and said, yes, I agree that Yitzchak is the true heir. So let's read text number 11. I guess back to Shelley, right?
Okay. Isaac and Ishmael. From here, we may deduce that Ishmael repented and let Isaac go before him, and that is the meaning of a good old age, which is stated regarding Abraham.
Okay, so Ishmael did teshuva, and he ceded to Yitzchak. Esav did not do teshuva, because we see Esav just continues eventually in his bad ways. But at that moment when he met Yaakov, he was so overwhelmed by Yaakov's goodness and Yaakov's positivity and his light and everything that he just got so emotional, affected him so much, and he just was, just kind of melted before Yaakov and just did whatever he wanted him to do and kissed him. And this is what the Rebbe explains. So go, Anna.
Jacob didn't influence Esav to do teshuva. Rather, he was able to impact Esav in such a way that even while in his position of, it's a well-known tradition that Esav hates Jacob, he was aroused with compassion and kissed him sincerely.
Okay. So what is the message for us today? Okay, 1 second. Oh, you guys can read this while I talk. Yeah, okay. So when we have opposition, when we have people maybe naysayers that say, oh, like, why you guys do this way? Oh, and try to belittle Israel, belittle Jewish people, or anything that's going on in your life, laugh at you maybe because you're doing a mitzvah, or you're doing some type of Jewish custom or whatever it is. Instead of trying to fight them or argue with them or win over their side, you just overwhelm them with positivity. You just continue doing what you're doing with such pride and such strength and such goodness. And there's obviously, if people just hate you, as we said, Esav hates Yaakov, and another person just hates, and you're not going to may not win them over. But if you do what you do, you may actually just do that. You may have to sit and convince them or change their opinion or anything like that. But once they see that you're just so overwhelmed with this positivity and goodness and everything, they're just going to melt before you, and they're just going to turn over to either to your side, or they're just gonna they're gonna give up. They're gonna see, hey, that these people are just so strong and so positive and it's all goodness that that is going to be the best way to do it. Just be proud to be a Jew. Just know that you're doing the right thing. Be proud to do the Jewish, different rituals, traditions, and mitzvahs, whatever it is. And don't be embarrassed. Don't say, oh no, we shouldn't go light menorah in public this year because what if, people come by and want to try to do something to us, or we shouldn't be, wearing our kippah or our Jewish star in the street. Maybe it's not such a good idea, or we should, instead of like trying to like hide and put it aside, do the opposite, bring out much more pride and much more strength. And, especially today when we see what is going on, that is the best way we can do against, our adversary, adversaries, our enemies, whatever it is. They'll say that we're strong and we're proud. We're just gonna, they'll just melt away.
Adversaries, your adversaries.
Adversaries, sorry, what did I
I
say?
knew that,
That's okay though.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No apologies, not apology neither.
Apology. No, don't be apologetic for sure.
That's
Definitely
a big
not.
question.